So this is my follow-up quick video to the one I posted earlier about going to see the movie 12 Strong in a 40X theater, the only one in the Seattle area. And I went in there with moderate expectations, but man, talk about a waste of money. First of all, the cost to do this to go see this movie was about $22. It's 14 bucks regular price, and they throw in an extra $8 charge to it. And so, they advertise it's going to be moving chairs, lights flashing, smells, some water effects, smoke effects, and wind effects, things like that, and other little things that tickle you in the show. Well, I didn't get to see this. I wanted to see it with Star Wars, but we missed our chance, so we had to go see this movie instead. But have a feeling the Star Wars one was probably pretty decent, but this one was garbage. First of all, they gave us, so for 22 bucks you go in there, and then they give you 3D glasses because you're assuming, of course, this is 4D, so the other three dimensions are covered, which means three-dimensional viewing. Well, the movie starts playing and there is no 3D. We're watching going, wait a minute, this isn't even 3D. So there's already a D missing in the show. So the glasses were useless, which is actually good we figured it out. Otherwise, you're just watching in a slightly darker view for no purpose. So glasses were a waste of time. And then the only time they really utilized all those effects was in the trailer, not even the trailer, the sort of pre-movie little Regal Cinemas roller coaster ride where they show you, the movie is coming up, concessions, blah, 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 blah. And then they do little 4DX, here's what it's all about. And they demo everything, shaking things and all that stuff. And then you get to the actual movie, and throughout the movie, the chairs moved 0 times. It didn't shake at all, even though there's plenty of opportunities for combat and horse riding for the thing to shake. Never shook. The only thing they really used at all was they had these fans in the theater that are up in the top right and left corners of the theater, blowing wind at you. Every time there's an aerial drone or helicopter shot, you hear those things fire up and kick some air breezing through. It was pretty distracting because every time a shot was coming up, you'd hear the fans kick in about a second before the shot actually happened. So you already knew it was going to happen. So it was like this sort of distracting audio noise that was happening, letting you know about what's going to happen. And then it was kind of cold because, the wind starts kicking in and it's actually a little chilly in the theater. So then you get this little wind breeze going on. So you're kind of going, I'd rather just turn it off because I'm getting a little chill here. So you got that going. And then the rest of the time, they really didn't do anything except for when there was these few combat sequences and they would have, um, uh, they had little air jets in front of you and behind you and in your back of your seat, so you have these little bursts of air, and that was during the bullets to kind of give you the effect that there's ricocheting going on. So that was kind of cool at first, but then after a while you kind of get used to that, so then it just sort of becomes this thing, but that you have to just sort of deal with. And then occasionally did this fun little thing where there's these little pokers in your back of your seat. So if like a guy got a headshot or got blown up by a grenade or something, you'd feel this little poke in your back. That would kind of nudge you. So a couple moments were kind of cool like that. But they weren't consistent. The timing was off. It felt sloppily implemented, like they just sort of randomly pushed let's do some air blast here, and let's do some punch right here. That looks pretty good. But it was never really that, in sync with what was going on the screen. But the biggest disappointment was the fact that the seats did not move at all. And it was like, that's what you actually want the most of, is to see what happens when things get crazy and things start shaking around. It didn't happen. So I have a feeling it was just with this movie. I feel like they just sort of threw it out there to put something in the theater, but it was never really designed for it. And it was a very not cheap, it's expensive, but cheaply done implementation of this probably rather interesting effect. So, I don't think I'll probably ever try this again. You might want to try it just to see it, but if you are going to go, make sure you go see a real actual movie that was meant for this. Either probably a, action hero type movie, an Avengers, another Star Wars or something. That's probably the only really type of thing that's worth seeing it on. The actual movie itself was, it was so-so. It was had nothing I hadn't already seen in a bunch of other action movies. A lot of gunplay, the heroes coming in and going off to war, and then connecting with the local militia to take on the Taliban. That's what the story was about. It was about these American soldiers, and I guess it was based on a real story. And this is the part that makes it at least kind of brought some part of me that I respected the fact that this movie was made, was because it was based on a true story. So you had these 12 guys who basically were the first ones to go into Afghanistan after 9/11, the 9/11 attacks. So supposedly based on a true story, probably loosely based on real events, but the actual movie itself was, a lot of cliches, a lot of moments where, you have this, they're trying to create this bond between, the local, Afghan leader of this who's trying to take down this Taliban city, controlled city, and the captain of this group who's come in here, played by Chris Helmsworth, and they have some kind of corny bonding moments where they're supposed to have this he sees this American coming in and he doesn't really know anything about what it's like to live in his country, and being a true warrior comes from the heart. It's not something you learn or that you take orders from. And then of course by the end of the movie Chris Helmsworth is storming in on his horse with his gun, and then the leader suddenly respects him, puts his hand on his heart, and we have that moment of he's now earned his respect. Who knows? Maybe it really happened that way, but the way it played out in the movie was awfully a little cornball and cheesy. So I didn't really care that much for the movie. It was actually the most fun was I went with my two friends, Jim and Rob, and we were both laughing at how bad the effects were in the theater. And so the rest of the movie, we basically were making our own effects by shaking the chair ourselves, rattling it around to get our own ride, because they weren't doing it for us, and complaining about how bad everything was. So that was actually a lot of fun, just the fact that we could hang out and laugh. And we had the whole theater to ourselves. It was just me, my two buddies, and nobody else. So it's very rare that you can have a whole theater feeling like it's your own private screening. So you can yell, talk, and make fun of whatever you want and not really care about bothering anybody. So that was pretty cool. That part of it was the best part, was just getting to hang out with my friends. If I'd seen this by myself just to watch it for the sake of getting this effect, I would have been very pissed that I got screwed in this sort of presentation that was very badly implemented. So anyway, that's my little adventure into 4D. If you really want to get a good 4D experience, well, just go to your local Disneyland and go on a Star Tours or Bugs Life, movie ride that lasts only 20 minutes or less, and you'll probably actually get a better small dose of what it's really meant to have an event, a ride like that, as opposed to trying to watch a movie and get engaged into the movie only to be distracted by all these things going around. It's really kind of, I just wanted to turn it off and just go back to watching a normal movie. So that's it. I am going to talk about get into the whole football thing on a separate video to talk about the playoffs and the Super Bowl coming up, and I'll do that separately. But I had to get this off my chest. It was interesting, crazy experience. But if you want to see some good in-depth movie reviews, unlike the one I just gave you, check out my new YouTube channel. It's called The Parking Lot Movie Guys, which I do with my business partner Mike, who also appears in the Rivals videos as the 80s Broncos fan. He and I have been doing it's a movie review channel, and we've done about 6 or so movies, and we're trying to do at least a couple every month, reviewing new movies coming out. We watch it, go out in the parking lot, and then talk about it and do a little review about it. So check it out. It's pretty cool. So click on it and check some of those out, and subscribe if you wouldn't mind. All right. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to take off, get going here. Just want to share some thoughts, but yeah, let's talk a little football next time around. All right. Take it easy, guys. Go Hawks.